Good morning, everybody. This is Jack Gleason with Startuptrading.com. It is just past 10 o'clock East Coast time, July 27th, 2020. Economic news events for the week here. Because it's Monday, I'm just going to quickly review the Red Star news events. Tomorrow, we're going to have CPI for the Australian dollars, our first Red Star news event. Pending home sales at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, and then the FOMC and the FOMC press conference is our big mover, or should be our big mover for Wednesday, or this week in general. Let's keep that in mind. Preliminary GDP out of the Eurozone, and then we're also going to have advanced GDP out of the United States on Thursday, manufacturing PMI out of the Chinese markets Thursday night, and then GDP for the Canadian dollar. So a couple of GDP numbers here this week, and then the FOMC press conference is going to be really important. As far as today, we already have really come across all of the news. There's only SPPI out of the Japanese yen at 7:50 p.m. this evening, and then in the overnight session we're going to have Spanish unemployment rate at 3 a.m. and at 6 a.m. we're going to have CBI realized sales for the Great Britain pound. So I've titled this video all-time highs in gold, which I'm sure you probably are all on top of that and aware of what those levels are. Now we have broken into the highest point ever, and I titled the video last week, gold will hit its all-time highs in August. Well, it looks like it didn't even take that much time. Now, the range of this bar on the monthly time frame here for gold is 175 points right now as we go into the end of July. And that makes it the biggest range since earlier this year when we had these crazy whipsaw moves in March. So we're breaking out into an all-time high with a 175 point move, or range I should say. Now the higher time frame halfway back has targets all the way at 2313, but once we clear all-time highs, especially in commodities, it just becomes almost a one-sided trade. There's obviously, market does always trade two different directions, but it's pullbacks in the trend, trend is long until it breaks. There was this higher time frame 50% retracement that consolidated, and this is really the longest consolidation we've had all year for gold. This consolidation began in April and lasted really all the way through the end of June. That negative 23% profit target was in 1839, and the negative 61 up here was in 1922. Now, on the higher time frame, this is, I think, the deepest pullback we would get, and the 38% retracement would be a move down to 1883. So we do want to be aware of that in the future. We have completed that negative 61.8 here. So if there is going to be a deeper pullback here, that's the daily pullback we would anticipate. Now, moving on to the hourly chart, we just have a bunch of different extensions here, but the last extension on Friday was the 1866.8 to high. Now this had pierced on Thursday into the close, and we held it and blew through targets. We blew through those targets Sunday night through the negative 23, through the negative 61, and we began a new high from Thursday's high to high. Okay, and that is traded so far here. It's 38% retracement, which the retest of the all-time high, I believe the previous all-time high is 1923.7. So on the hourly time frame, we are bullish above a 1914. On the hourly time frame, we are bullish above the 1914, and there would be a pullback on into the daily chart below that. If we do the one I just went over, we would pull back into that zone most likely if we did break this 1914. But if we don't, it's just going to continue to be in a long series, and it can be in a long series for a very long time. It can look like what the Nasdaq was looking like when the Nasdaq was just breaking all-time highs, and we saw that for weeks on end. The Nasdaq was basically a long-only trade, which has recently changed. But next instrument here that I will go over is silver. Also, let's just take a look at this monthly chart. This is an outside year, which is pretty amazing. So it not only is it outside last year, but it was outside the previous year, outside the year before that. We are outside all of the action of 2016, all of the action of 2015, and in fact, all of the action of 2014. So, let's see if I can actually even go to yearly. This is an outside bar, right? And all an outside bar is means it went below the previous candlestick and above, and and then it's above the previous high. So below the low and above the high. But I don't think I've ever seen a candle. I mean, I don't look at yearly candles that often, but we went this in mention this isn't a commodity. So we are outside 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. That should just show you how powerful this move really is. And silver, when silver runs, it runs a lot faster, a lot harder than gold because it is a smaller market, and so it's really easy to get very aggressive trends. Now, when we had the 2010, 2011 breakout, I mean, just look at the speed of this move. We were at $18, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about like 9 months later, we're at 50. And this is even faster so far out of lows. We'll see if it continues. But anyway, we're obviously very well through resistance. I have the previous lows drawn of 2012, and then I think we're most likely going to get all the way back up to that 31 area, and then we'll have to find out what we're going to do there. But if you go to the hourly chart and all these higher time frames, you just want to be aware of the last major daily pullback. In fact, like really we had this extension, and then from there we just started going totally and completely straight up. Now we are in an extension to extension series again, but the previous anchor that's been used before is a 2030. This is what is completed today. So we either need to hold straight up inside of extensions, or we also need to be aware of the possibility that this would retest its extension. The 2030 anchor would just come into a same anchor new high. So on the hourly sequence, we're bullish above a 2380. If we do not hold 2380s, that is when I would begin to expect the deeper pullback. But silver up another 6% here. We had 6% move on Wednesday, 6% move, 5 or 6% on Tuesday. So clearly, when you start to see those types of things, that's not bearish, right? That's very bullish action. That's very aggressive buying. Do not convince yourself that this is overbought, because that does not exist. Moving on to the VIX, which is really played a technical role in last week's bottoms. Now we had Tuesday's low, we had the futures rollover on Wednesday for the VIX, and that's what created the gap from Tuesday to Wednesday. We pulled into that 38% retracement, and our upside target was a 29.80. Now 29.80s gave us a triple top in the VIX, which led to selling pressure in the VIX, and that's going to do so at 26.90. When 26.90 trades in the VIX, we can anticipate potential resistance in the indexes. Moving on to the S&P 500. Resistance levels above, we are still inside of the extension from Friday. We are still inside of this extension. We also need to be aware of what is the full 50% retracement short, which if I can, just going to grab it here. That is from the highs of Thursday to low. That gives us a 50% retracement at 32.38. With the support level that we ran into, in the support level 2, I think there's going to be a little bit of a consolidation. But anyway, there was buyers down and below that 32.0175, and do just continue to go to a new high in the indexes. Still want to be leaning on the long side, because that really just has been the trend. There were shorts absolutely Thursday, Friday, But coming out of these lows, as long as we stay above 3201.75, we're going to make our way up another 100 points higher. So I don't want to get too bearish here just because we have a breakdown Thursday, and Friday had some continuation selling. Moving on to the Dow. The Dow, now there was this next traditional in the Dow from what was Tuesday's low to high. Okay, Tuesday's low to high. And that, we had a double top situation and we broke. So we broke that setup, which does give us a valid 50% retracement short. Now we are still inside of the extension. Okay, the extension short, we're coming right into it again. That downside target would be an ideal long trade setup for me. And that would be at 26,178, which is a full 50% retracement from the beginning of the move of July 10th. We'll see if we can get there, but I would love to see that happen. The Dow did not hold the halfway back long here today. It pierced it. It's a little sloppy. We can still, be aware that we could potentially trade those upside targets. Specifically, this negative 61 is going to be right at that 50% retracement short. So if we get up to the negative 61 and run into the 50% retracement short, what are we going to have? A target hit and a resistance level. So be aware of that. Moving on to the NQ, which completed its first daily short in 4 months on Thursday. There was absolutely some seriously aggressive selling pressure. And then we began extensions into the low. Those extensions traded perfectly on Friday. And, they gave 140 points. But now we've broken it. So because we've broken that extension, there is a valid 50% retracement long at 10,475. And there's a valid 50% retracement short at 10,680. I'm going to leave it simple with those two levels. Moving on to oil, which has been in a 50% retracement short here since Friday. We broke down Thursday. We tested it once. We came into this long support at 40.79. We tested it again in the overnight session. We are very close to completing a target at 40.44. Okay, but once again, there is plenty of different support levels, so I think it would be pretty hard to get below this 40.44. Once we complete it, we'd probably just rally back into a next halfway back short. There's also a couple of different variations of longs you can draw. So if I drew what is the July 14th low to high, you can see that was support on Thursday and Friday. But if I just go back to the previous swing high and draw that, there's going to be buyers there as well too. These are all different variations of people who potentially see long setups. We just came off that 40.51. So even though we are getting, we're kind of ranging back and forth between shorts, pay attention to the outer edges of the range here in CL, because that's where I think the trading opportunities are going to be. Also, that was just a fourth touch of a trend line, or pretty freaking close. So moving on to the USD JPY, which fell off that cliff we've been talking about for quite some time. So this is actually the yen getting strong against the dollar. We've completed multiple downside daily profit targets. The last target to complete was the 50% retracement that traded on July 1st. Here we are, end of the month, 105.17. These have been targets for weeks in our trade room. We've been targets for weeks. The last entry was an extension drawn from the low of July 10th that completed targets. We're through even higher time frame targets now. There is the possibility of one. I'm just going to go to, these are all daily draws. The same anchor to low here. That 38% retracement is all the way up at 105.72. If we continue to go through lows, we can begin an extension from June 23rd. The Aussie dollar has confirmed this support level by breaking out of its short, and so anticipating a second test of 70.72 would be the only thing I would look for as of right now. Now, it's just the swing lows of Thursday, the 17th, the high. Now, we traded those levels on Friday. We broke the short setup, and so that confirms that support. The euro has a extension to extension. I am looking at the high from 722 to high. It's a 1682 50% retracement. Just going to set an alert there. Wait for it. And then the pound, the full 50% retracement from Tuesday's high to high, traded, and we've come like 3 ticks shy of the target. So I'm going to draw that same anchor new high, and the 50% retracement is going to 122, 128.22. The CAD, a little sloppy here. I still want to see this 134.52 level trade. It's the only thing I'm interested in, but we're kind of just going back and forth. But that's going to wrap up my morning trade plan video. If you enjoyed this content, please give this video a thumbs up. Feel free to share with anybody you might think will find it interesting. I know I'm doing this video later than I normally do, just because Mondays I kind of like to watch the trend develop. It's first trading day of the week, new information. There's definitely other setups, but Mondays are typically slow, and I like to make sure that I'm not getting my week started on the wrong foot. Everybody have a wonderful day. I'll catch you all in my trade room and answer any questions you guys have there. If you're interested in joining the trade room, make sure you click the link below. It's an incredibly valuable resource for you to have if you watch these videos. Take care. I'll see you. Days are typically slow, and I like to make sure that I'm not getting my week started on the wrong foot. Everybody have a wonderful day. I'll catch you all in my trade room and answer any questions you guys have there. If you're interested in joining the trade room, make sure you click the link below. It's an incredibly valuable resource for you to have if you watch these videos. Take care.